how would you define space? In a way, it's the absence of definition, or the absence of grasping at any particular thing. It's the mind unanchored, but not unanchored in a dissociative way. It's the mind set free in its native relaxation. And everything's happening in that. In a way, everything is an expression of that. And so for me, like, space is the nectar. It's the mana. It's the food of meditation. It's the sustenance of a contemplative. You know, the discovery of space, or the recovery of space, and working with that which crowds space, blocks space, hinders space, and even taking it to the point where we look at what localizes space. I don't mean three-dimensional space, because that's something that's separation. In a way, this is a different kind of space. It's when I was young, my first inkling of spiritual curiosity was I remember being at the synagogue, and I did have a question for the rabbi. And my question that gripped me then as a 5-year-old boy, and is still a fascinating question to me now, I realize it's actually a fundamental koan, is let's say there's a creator God. Let's say there's something that gives rise to the universe and all of its matter, energy, and beings. Well, how did the space for that creator God to get there come to be? Who created the space before God? How? I mean, the mind stops when you begin to approach this question. That's what's so beautiful and profound about it. How did the very fact of possibility come about? How did possibility come about? That's really compelling for me. And that's what meditation and what space means to me, is resting in the very fact of possibility. And in a way, from resting in the fact of possibility, and I don't mean like, okay, something's possible as a cognitive idea. I mean the texture of possibility itself. Resting in that, everything is an effulgence of that, or as they say in the Tibetan tradition, it's an adornment of that space. But to rest in the as the being of possibility of happening itself is a deep pleasure. And in a way, that's why I meditate. I'm not so interested in suffering in the end of suffering. I'm not a great Buddhist in that sense. I think that's supposed to be part of my job as a Buddhist teacher, is to help people address their suffering. But because, in a way, the question of suffering or not suffering is only relevant from the absence of space. But from the ground of space, from being the fielding of possibility, everything is just a different texture of energy, and it's all okay. So, space. That's what I'm devoted to. And it's not a vacuum. It's not something that's dead or cold, because space is full of energy and life and vibrancy. It's actually, space is blissful. That kind of source point of possibility has a feeling tone of bliss, of pure pleasure. So as a meditation teacher, that's when I'm working with somebody, one of the things I'm most motivated by is helping them know that. Because it's so primal and so irreducible and so reliable when it's really discovered, that to know that gives a ballast to all the difficult energies and unfoldings that tend to cause us suffering. It's an actual counterpoint, or it's the good news of existence.